When most people think of ancient megastructures, names like Stonehenge, Baalbek, and the Ziggurat of Ur usually come to mind. Those sites have fascinated historians for decades. But thousands of miles away, scattered across China's vast landscape, there are hundreds of huge megalithic structures that rarely get the same attention. Their sheer scale and unusual features have left experts with more questions than answers. Some believe they point to the existence of a large and sophisticated civilization that once flourished in the region. So, who created these ginormous structures? And why? And could China be hiding the remains of a lost civilization? Well, stay tuned to find out. The Mysteries of China's Longyu Caves. The story of the Longyu Caves begins with a mystery that had puzzled villagers for decades. Scattered across the countryside near the village of Xianing were several deep ponds that locals called the bottomless ponds. No one knew where they came from or how deep they were. Attempts to measure them with long bamboo poles always failed, and over time, the ponds became part of local folklore. But everything changed in 1992 when a villager decided to drain one of them. After days of pumping water, something unexpected appeared beneath the surface, a stone staircase descending into darkness. As more water was removed, a hidden secret emerged. The pond was not a pond at all. It was the flooded entrance to an enormous artificial cave carved directly into solid rock. What followed was one of the most remarkable discoveries in China. Researchers eventually identified 24 massive chambers, now known as the Longyu Caves. Some rise to the height of a 10-story building. Every cave features remarkably flat floors, carefully cut ceilings, and walls covered with identical chisel-like markings set at a consistent angle. Even more impressive, caves built beside one another are separated by only a few inches of rock in places. The numbers only deepen the mystery. Creating these chambers required removing more than 1 million tons of stone. But no piles of excavated rock have ever been found. No worker settlements. No workshops. No cemeteries. Most surprising of all, not a single ancient Chinese record describes their construction. For a civilization famous for meticulous record-keeping, that silence may be the greatest mystery of all. The gigantic Yangshan Quarry, contains one of the most baffling megalithic sites anywhere in China. At the center of the quarry sits a huge stone block estimated to weigh around 16,000 tons. That figure is difficult to comprehend. The famous megaliths at Baalbek in Lebanon weigh roughly 1,400 tons, meaning the Yangshan block is more than 12 times heavier. Just thinking about moving something of that size creates a problem. Even today, transporting a single 16,000-ton stone would push modern engineering to its limits. But whoever cut this colossal block appears to have intended exactly that. The mystery doesn't end with its size. Across the quarry, millions of tons of rock seem to have been removed, leaving behind vertical walls, big flat surfaces, and sharply cut grooves. At the base of the unfinished stone are massive square cavities that may have been part of a transportation system. Nearby, perfectly carved angles and precisely shaped recesses suggest a level of stoneworking that continues to raise questions. Then there are the strange protrusions, often called knobs. Similar features appear on megalithic blocks in Peru and Egypt, including stones near the Menkaure Pyramid at Giza. Historians often argue that they were used for lifting, but when standing beside the gigantic stones at Yangshan, that explanation suddenly feels incomplete. What makes the site so fascinating is not merely its scale. It is the feeling that these unfinished stones belong to a much larger story. A story whose builders possessed abilities, methods, or knowledge that have long since vanished from history. Huashan Mysterious Grottos, roughly 100 miles from the Longyu Caves, lies another site that raises many of the same chilling questions. The Huashan Grottos are a vast complex that consists of 36 huge caves carved into the mountains near the Yellow River. Their scale alone is enough to leave visitors speechless. The chambers stretch deep into the rock, opening into immense halls supported by carefully shaped stone pillars and walls. Every surface appears intentional. Nothing feels random or rushed. The entire complex gives the impression of a project planned long before the first piece of stone was ever removed, and that stone is part of the mystery. The amount of rock excavated from the Huashan Grottos reaches into the millions of cubic feet. Such a project would have required a huge workforce, sophisticated planning, and generations of labor. But the same question appears here as it does at Longyu. Where did all the removed material go? No vast spoil heaps have been discovered. No evidence of large-scale disposal has ever been identified. Historical records offer little help. Despite China's reputation for documenting major achievements, no surviving text explains who built these caves, when construction began, or what purpose they served. The silence surrounding the site feels almost as impressive as the caves themselves. Even today, parts of the grottos remain unexplored. Dark passages disappear into sections rarely visited and poorly understood. Standing inside them, it becomes difficult not to wonder whether these chambers belong to a forgotten chapter of Chinese history, one written in stone, but somehow absent from every known record. The enigmatic Hedong City Fortress, hidden among deep gorges and rugged terrain, the Hedong City Fortress is one of those places that almost seems designed to remain unnoticed. From a distance, very little gives away its existence. In fact, many residents knew surprisingly little about it until an elderly man named Hao Jun helped researchers navigate the difficult routes leading to the site. Once inside, the landscape changes dramatically. The fortress opens into a vast enclosed area that has been compared to the interior of an enormous stone vessel. Along its sides were cave dwellings, most of which have long since eroded away, leaving behind only fragments of what once existed there. Conventional explanations claim the fortress was built by simple farming communities seeking protection from raiders. Yet that theory immediately runs into problems. The most obvious is the fortress entrance itself. The gateway rises roughly 30 feet high, a scale that seems difficult to reconcile with a modest refuge built by villagers with limited resources. The questions continue when attention shifts to the rock-cut sections of the site. Like the caves discussed earlier, these chambers were not formed naturally. They were deliberately carved into the landscape. Even more intriguing, many of the marks left behind closely resemble those found at Longyu and Huashan. That similarity has led some researchers to wonder whether the same builders, or at least the same construction methods, were involved. If so, Hedong City Fortress may represent another surviving fragment of a much larger story, one connected to a civilization whose identity has vanished while its stonework remains. How much of our history is still missing? The mysterious Baigong pipes, among the most controversial discoveries in China, are the objects known as the Baigong pipes. Found near Mount Baigong and Lake Tosan, these unusual formations have fueled debate for decades because they appear, at first glance, strikingly artificial. Reports from the 1990s describe dozens of pipe-like structures embedded within rock formations around the mountain. Some measured several inches across, while others were no thicker than a toothpick. A number of them appeared interconnected, leading some observers to suggest they once formed part of a larger system. The mystery deepened when chemical analysis revealed significant amounts of iron oxide along with traces of other minerals. Certain reports even suggested the formations could be thousands of years old, creating immediate speculation about who might have created them and for what purpose. Over the years, theories multiplied. Some proposed an ancient water distribution network. Others imagined a drainage system connected to a structure that may once have stood on the mountain. The more sensational explanations suggested evidence of a technologically advanced civilization whose achievements had been forgotten. But not everyone agrees. Later studies pointed toward a natural explanation. Research conducted on samples from the site identified organic material and growth ring patterns, leading some scientists to conclude the so-called pipes may actually be mineralized tree roots. Over immense spans of time, minerals gradually replaced the original organic matter, leaving behind formations that resemble manufactured pipes. Even today, the debate remains unresolved in the public imagination, making the Baigong pipes one of China's most enduring archaeological mysteries. Gujiaju Caves, about 50 miles northwest of Beijing, stands one of China's most perplexing archaeological sites. This enormous complex contains 117 caves and more than 350 chambers carved directly into solid granite. Spread across roughly 25 acres, it is often described as the largest cliff-dwelling site in China. The scale alone is impressive, but it is the level of planning that truly captures attention. The chambers are arranged almost like two separate villages. Some are square, others circular. Some contain a single room, while others extend across multiple levels connected by stairways and passages. Everywhere researchers look, evidence of daily life appears frozen in stone. Doorways, windows, lampstands, compartments, flues, stoves, beds, and drainage systems were all carved directly into the granite. Nothing about the site suggests temporary occupation. It feels like a community built to last. But for all its sophistication, almost nothing is known about the people who created it. No reliable historical record describes its construction. No inscription identifies its builders. No datable evidence has provided a clear answer regarding its true age. Archaeologists generally place the site somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 years old, though many believe it could be considerably older. Adding to the mystery are the unusual markings visible on the stone surfaces. Similar traces appear at several other megalithic sites across China, raising questions about whether the same construction techniques were used throughout the region. Today, the Gujiaju Caves remain an unanswered question carved into a mountainside. Well, the structures survive, but the builders do not. Terracotta Army and the hidden pyramid well, few archaeological discoveries have captured the imagination quite like the Terracotta Army. In 1974, local farmers digging a well made an accidental discovery that revealed one of the most extraordinary burial complexes ever found. Beneath the ground stood thousands of life-sized clay soldiers arranged in military formation. More than 8,000 warriors have been identified, accompanied by horses, chariots, officials, musicians, acrobats, and other figures. No two faces appear exactly alike, giving the impression that real people served as inspiration for the sculptors. The army was created to guard Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China. But the famous statues are only part of a much larger mystery. The Terracotta Army stands beside an enormous pyramid-like burial mound that remains largely unopened even today. Ancient accounts describe a vast underground complex beneath it. According to those records, the tomb contains a miniature version of China itself, complete with rivers said to flow with mercury beneath a ceiling representing the heavens. Scientific surveys have detected unusually high mercury concentrations around the mound, adding weight to those ancient descriptions. Yet archaeologists have never fully excavated the tomb itself. That leaves a remarkable possibility. One of the most important archaeological sites on Earth may still be hiding its greatest secrets underground. While millions visit the Terracotta Army, the heart of the complex remains sealed, preserving mysteries that have survived for more than 2,000 years. Sanxingdui, the mysterious ancient city in 1986, construction workers near the city of Guanghan found something that totally altered the discussion surrounding ancient China. Buried beneath the ground were two sacrificial pits filled with thousands of extraordinary artifacts, unlike anything previously discovered in the region. The site became known as Sanxingdui, and the discoveries were astonishing. More than 13,000 artifacts eventually emerged, including over 12,100 bronze objects, hundreds of gold pieces, jade artifacts, statues, masks, and ceremonial items. Many date to roughly 3,000 to 5,000 years ago, placing them among the earliest large civilizations on Earth. What immediately separated Sanxingdui from other ancient Chinese sites was its appearance. The bronze masks stared outward with enormous eyes and exaggerated ears. Giant statues displayed features unlike those seen in later Chinese art. Some figures appeared almost otherworldly, as though they belonged to a completely different cultural tradition. One bronze statue stood around 9 feet tall. A huge bronze mask measured nearly 4.5 feet across. The craftsmanship required to create objects of this size and complexity suggests advanced knowledge of metallurgy, casting techniques, and artistic design. Then there is the mystery of what happened. Many artifacts were intentionally broken before burial. Others show evidence of burning. Whether this was part of a ritual practice or the result of some catastrophic event remains uncertain. Perhaps most puzzling of all is that this remarkable culture seems to have disappeared. It left behind masterpieces of bronze and gold, yet its final chapter remains unwritten. Sanxingdui stands as one of the strongest reminders that parts of China's ancient past are still waiting to be understood. The pyramids of Guanlin Temple and the General Well, these might be China's lesser-known mysteries, but there are two pyramid-like structures that challenge conventional explanations about age and origin. The first is found at Guanlin Temple near Luoyang, a site best known as the resting place of the legendary general Guan Yu. The second is the Tomb of the General in Jian, part of the famous Goguryeo Tombs complex. Officially, both structures are connected to later historical cultures. Yet some researchers argue that the monuments themselves may be far older than the civilizations traditionally associated with them. At Guanlin, attention focuses on the unusual form and appearance of certain structures within the complex. Some believe later generations may have reused an already ancient monument, transforming it into a sacred burial site, much as other cultures reused older sacred locations throughout history. The Tomb of the General raises similar questions. Built from massive stone blocks arranged in stepped layers, it bears a striking resemblance to pyramidal architecture seen far beyond East Asia. Its broad base and narrowing upper levels have often been compared to monuments found in Mesoamerica. Those similarities are difficult to ignore. Cultures separated by oceans and thousands of years somehow arrived at architectural forms that appear surprisingly alike. Whether that reflects coincidence, shared ideas, or something far older remains unknown. Neither site provides clear answers. Instead, they contribute another piece to a growing puzzle, one suggesting that parts of China's ancient landscape may preserve traces of a forgotten chapter of human history that has yet to be fully understood. Well, if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. We'll see you very soon in the next one.